the name whispered to strike fear into children. Gore Magala, a walking extinction event. Gore Magala, pray you never meet.
Fear not, though, hunters, for I can defeat anything as long as it doesn't have horns. Ah, fuck! Yes, they're not technically horns, but for the love of Gog, where do I begin? With Gore Magala. He was the flagship of Monster Hunter 4/4 Ultimate, and he brought with him something that we'd never really seen before, and that was a focus. A focus on him and the story surrounding him. Gore Magala and its abilities permeated the very membrane of the game, weaving in and out of the narrative and infecting the mechanics alike, to the point where the endgame very much surrounded this one monster. It was almost Gore Magala Monster Hunter Edition, and it was done, I think, surprisingly well. Not to mention his appearance. Appearance? Appearance! Sounds like a spell. Not to mention his appearance, right? Pretty good, 9 out of 10 would mount. He is sleek, shiny black shell covering every inch. He looks almost not real, alien, unlike anything before him. The bulk, but still aliveness that makes him incredibly deadly, fast and strong. He has no visible eyes, incredibly poor eyesight. In fact, there's something about him that's just not quite right. Definitely in the top 3 monsters you don't want to meet in a dark alleyway. He has incredibly muscled wings, ending in clawed prehensile hands that allow him to do some quite dexterous feats, such as gingerly popping your head open. He is very intelligent, able to learn and develop new strategies on the fly, and brings them to bear in combat. Hell, low-wise, he even learned that he can just play dead, walk away from situations where his untapped fury is not instantly winning him the day. But look, based on everything that I've told you so far, and the fact that in terms of power level, he's kind of like Apex-ish, you know, Diablos would give him a good fight, though he'd probably win, but you know, around there. You might be thinking, how is this guy such a big... I mean, yeah, he definitely looks unique, he's cool, but like permeating through the entire game, like, I feel like you've hyped him up. Well, the thing is, Gore Magala's most deadly weapon is... terrifying. You see, Gore Magala is a Necromancer. In all seriousness, though, introducing the Frenzy Virus, the most deadly and terrifying natural defense, I would say, in all of Monster Hunter. You remember how I said old Gory here, he can't see very well, bless him, but he does have 2 antennae folded against his head or erect with purple glowy tips while in rage. See, they're not quite horns. Well, these antennae let him interact with the world in a more precise way than blurry, I forgot my glasses, where are my glasses, vision. And he does this by scattering tiny little hairs and scales in the air and then spreading them throughout his environment with his wings. They will settle on, well, everything, painting him a picture. If it settles on a living thing, another monster, well then the antenna can pick that up and it gives him a almost predator heat vision-like sense of his immediate location. But the catch, the problem, the slight side effects, if another monster breathes in these hairs and scales, well, they get infected with the Frenzy Virus, and after a little bit of incubation period, from minutes to, well, days, they, appear to sort of just die. But then, well, they come back. It's very zombie-esque, and once they've come back, they get a little bit of a purple hue, their skin darkens, they start emanating this plague-like substance themselves, they get red, evil eyes, and oh, they go absolutely fucking batshit crazy mental psychopath rampage! on a good day, and do not stop until a few days later, after a good bit of killing everything in sight. They get a little bit tuckered out and drop dead.
Oh man, that Sanoka's really tough guy. Oh, wow, what are you doing? What are you doing, guys? We gotta get up. We gotta game. What? No.
And yes, that was a spreading of the frenzy virus so quick that the little Iopre turned on their leader, the Iodrome, and started eating him alive. Isn't nature beautiful? Now, this problem is further compounded by the fact that the frenzy virus bestows a few benefits on those infected. It makes them stronger, faster, turns up their aggression to its absolute limits, and essentially a Baroth infected with frenzy would pull quite the role reversal on a normal Diablos. It does make the host more susceptible to damage, so it's got that going for it. Oh, and all of the infected monsters' attacks also spread more virus, so a trickle becomes a flood in very, very little time. You see how everything gets wiped out around a Gore Magala. They are devastating. So fear the Gore Magala. Its wings, a shadow of death upon the land. Its presence, a blight so virulent that all should flee. With just its mere presence, it will turn the surrounding forest into a bloodbath, the rivers running crimson with the life force of many monsters mercilessly slaughtered in the furious screams of frenzy. Woe betide any hunters that try and stem the bleeding. But stem it we must, because while they might die naturally from infection, the damage they cause in the meantime, it is devastating. So you see why it's got to affect the whole game, right? You see why the story was built around Gore Magala. His virus cannot exist without having huge ramifications. Now, there is a self-contained version of him in Generations Ultimate, and the virus isn't really a thing in that game, except in his individual fight, so, you can just throw him in, but that seems kinda lame. So you find frenzied monsters throughout the story and have to locate its source. You eventually discover the Magala, and you have a reckoning, and it is a glorious fight. He's aggressive, powerful, fast, he's fun, you gotta be on your toes, you gotta match his aggression blow for blow, and he is essentially Nergigante the test drive. He really does share similarities in terms of fight feeling. But the thing is, you might be wondering then, well, hunters, humans, infected with virus, yes? Well, yes, if you get hit by Gore Magala's breath attacks, which are hugely potent clouds of the virus, or indeed just his swipes from his muscled wing claws. I wish I had muscled wing claws. Well, you will get infected, but in humans/hunters, it has a very different result. You will slowly have a bar that fills up. This is the incubation period, and during this time you can either choose to let it happen or try and slow it down with null berries, but if it reaches the top you will become infected. You will take extra damage from frenzy-based attacks, and you will lose the ability to heal naturally. It's quite nasty. However, if you give in to the frenzy and attack again, you can actually master it, take control of the virus, and turn it into a positive, giving yourself an affinity boost should you get enough damage before it finishes incubating, which is really neat, right? But are humans unique in this? Well, funny you should ask about that. No. You see, various powerful monsters have individuals of strong mind and will who also master the virus. Your Rajangs, your Deviljos, your Diablos, your Seregioses, and, well, they turn into apex monsters. And apex monsters, I still wake up screaming in the night. Double Apex Rajang can go fuck itself. And they essentially claim the frenzy, making it their own, gaining all of the benefits, the huge increase in speed, power, strength, aggression, while shedding all of the weaknesses, such as, dying. In this frenzied apex state, their skin hues purple, their eyes glowing red with hate. The strengthening it gives them means that even weapons with mind's eye, even the sharpest of blades, get turned away from their thickened scales. So you need a way to fight these beasts. They're quite a problem for the guild, as they are absolutely dominating. What an apex monster will do is slaughter every other one of its kind in the immediate area, then slaughter every other living thing, and claim an empire of bones, of which it rules utterly. And occasionally venturing out to slaughter a few villages, you know, Sunday afternoon, and they are incredibly tough to bring down. You need specialized equipment, i.e. the Y-stones. You go through a little bit of a story thing to acquire them, and Y-stones you apply to your weapon, and they essentially let you pierce an apex monster. You can knock the frenzy virus out of them. It will suppress the infection, returning them to a somewhat normal state and leveling the playing fields. You see what I mean? That Gore Magala really did permeate. The apex monsters were the hardest challenge in the game. Level 140 guild quest apexes were nuts. Apex, Devil Joe, and Rajang were and you had special new mechanics implemented. Everything was all about the Magala and what it did to the world, story-wise, all the way down to actions you took during gameplay and what you spent your time farming when you were done. Honestly, very cool take on a Monster Hunter game. So these apex monsters then are, well, they're essentially just super enhanced versions of what you might expect. On top of the color change, I mean, it's like somebody took a normal monster that you might know and injected it with the super soldier serum.
So,
you got infected. And even me, with hundreds of hours farming them, there was always a bit in my mind that knew at any moment I'm probably about to be one-shot by Apex Rajang. So, already then you can see why Gore Magala is so much of a big deal. Entirely unique in both him and everything he did for the game. He is a memorable, magnificent monster. But Gore Magalas are incredibly aggressive because they need a lot of prey. They're incredibly elusive because they need to survive. They are seldom seen. And why would they need to survive and eat a lot? Well, have you ever heard the story of the hungry, hungry caterpillar? Yep, that's not even his final form. Oh, Gore Magala is a juvenile! A baby! And when he eats enough, he will return to Heaven's Mount, ascend high up to its peaks, and molt into its adult form. Meet the Shagaru Magala. Now a true elder dragon, its black scales transcending into beautiful, iridescent, glowing gold. No! No. Shagaru Magala then. I adore him and his fight. Looking like a glowing star when wings fully extended in flight. He's the light to Gore's darkness, though they both kill pretty much everything. He, like his juvenile form, is incredibly powerful, but now his muscles thickened and strengthened. He's larger, faster, more aggressive, but able to wield that aggression with deadly precision. His mind developed as well, and exceptionally intelligent even by Elder Dragon's near-sentient standards. He will plan, he will use tactics, and he will come up with the best way to savagely rip you apart. Once he commits to combat, he is a whirlwind of destruction, overwhelming in his relentless assault. He really does feel like a monster where you're like, when am I supposed to attack? I don't understand. You have to stand your ground, and you have to become a man. Or cart many times. You know, it's whatever. The strength now to throw himself through solid rock and cleave a hunter in twain as soon as look at him. Extra spiky protrusions grown out of him, his eyes fully open and developed horns permanently proudly atop his head. He is known as a god. But not just any god. He is the punishing god of the mountain. You see, no longer needing the frenzy to see or as a defense mechanism, he commands it with true mastery as a devastating weapon. It will emanate out of him, and he will use it to wipe the entire surrounding area for miles of all life, infecting every single creature and watching the carnage unfold, and then everything goes still. Now, he creates this empty kingdom to make sure that no other Gore Magala has enough of a food source to molt into another Shagaru, to make sure that only his progeny is the next generation of Gore Magalas, releasing them out into the world. How he gives birth to them / lays the eggs by himself. I mean, he might be a species that can reproduce without needing to, but just the idea of Shagaru Magala up in his special arena slowly laying mini Gore Magala eggs, I like that. Either way, it's a brutally devastating and efficient reproductive cycle that goes from Gore Magala all the way to Shagaru in one wake of death. It's quite ridiculous. He essentially fights and acts then like a Gore Magala that's permanently enraged and turned up to 11. He is then on top of that enraged state, pulsing with frenzy. He'll take to the sky and come cascading down with bone-crunching assaults. He will cause explosions of frenzy. He can decimate lesser elder dragons and everything else below that. Even the apex monsters don't want to go anywhere near a Shagaru. Only 3 have ever been recorded, 2 of which have been slain by the hunters. You see, slaying a Shagaru is of utmost importance, for he is a crisis situation. He won't stop at just a few miles of dead, deserted land. No, it will keep going. He will spread. His Gore Magalas will spread. The virus ever transferring and causing despair. It will permeate the very land, infusing the ground, the trees, the air with frenzy. This frenzy will never go away, turning the area akin to nuclear wasteland where none must enter. And the only way to remove this infection is to slay the Shagaru responsible for generating it. And as such, the hunters, well, off they go to face a god. A fascinating creature then, both in its adaptations, how it fights, and how it is as an experience. An entire Monster Hunter game dedicated both in story and gameplay to the effects of its life cycle and what that is doing to the environment and the village that you hunt from. It's a real novel take on a Monster Hunter and one I enjoyed thoroughly. I honestly think I might have more hours than 4 Ultimate than really any other Monster Hunter game, so yeah, you think about that. I love him. He does some really cool stuff. Puddles of frenzy that explode and make the ground hard to traverse. He has acrobatic combo attacks that Gore Magala could only dream of. He really tests you. You have to have such an elegant razor wire precision dance with him to avoid utter failure. It's just one of my best first monster experiences I think I have ever had, and he really is glorious. A lot of people like the Gore Magalas and the Shagarus for very, very good reason. The final stop on this tale of darkness is chaotic Gore Magala, a horrific hybrid twixt Shagaru and its younger form. When a Gore Magala is molting but is interrupted, the stress-induced enters it into this agonizing limbo in-between state, where it will burn itself out in a frenzy. Quite literally, a frenzy. It's like somebody pressed B as it was evolving. It has one half patterned with the glittering gold, enlarged its wing and claw arm, the other half smaller, more regular gore, its head meeting in the middle, brain torn between its two halves, its two drives, one a proper horn, one eye large and overdeveloped, the other still a feeler, the other eye tiny and almost blind. In this state it loses all semblance of control over the frenzy that it cannot help but secrete. It will then immediately infect itself, gaining all the benefits, but this time also the negatives. It will die eventually in this state, but it will cause absolute mayhem in the meanwhile and needs to be put down. A Gore Magala's frenzy state is a powerful thing. Essentially they're in rage where they start using their wing arms to deadly effect, entering almost a six-legged mode and start to really work those extra blades with deadly efficiency. Chaotic Gore Magalas then are, well, quite the freak of nature. It's imagine half molting. Imagine a caterpillar becoming half butterfly, half caterpillar. It really is something that should not be. It's also classed as a question mark. They just looked at it and went, I don't know, look at that thing. What? How? And that's really all there is to it. A sad Gore Magala in pain, infected by its own frenzy and unable to do anything but mindlessly destroy, still spreading the frenzy, but like any poor infected monster. It's definitely more aggressive in its play style, but it's sloppier, it missteps, it is just a little bit all over the place. It's not got full control of its body, it's reckless, it'll overextend. It's essentially just a brawler with nothing to lose, and there's a certain appeal to that, there really is. But there we go, that is the end to the long tale of Gore Magala. As far as putting Gore in world then, well, this section's gonna be pretty short this time around, because you can't really, can you? You can't not do the full frenzy takeover threat, though then again you could have, if they did the G-Rank sections DLC with mini story arcs, you could have the frenzy arc. A Shagaru Magala's an elder dragon, he can come to the Elder's Recess to die, right? And on his way, get a little bit of an infection going, so putting him down, putting down the monsters that he has infected. Actually, yeah, now that I think about that, a frenzy event via a Shagaru, that could be pretty cool. It could be like a Kulve event, only lasting a week, so for that week you can fight frenzied monsters, Shagaru himself, and maybe a Gore Magala. That's quite possible, and it would be super cool to see the frenzy virus done in worlds much more realistic-y, nature-y standards. I'm kind of all for that. I never really thought much of his armor, but in terms of a nice little mini-story, that could be a really nice callback. But just putting him in, here's a new monster, that seems very unlikely. He would have to be a major game-changing event for it to work, otherwise it feels a little bit lame. Now, admittedly, the frenzy and everything has a few plot holes and doesn't make a lot of sense in some places, so I've tried to give you a flow of this from Gore the Virus to Apex to Shagaru that sort of makes sense. I hope you did enjoy it and get a good feel for this magnificent life cycle, but if you did like this, well, please like it or share it around. I love this game and its creatures and its world, I really do. So for now, my name has been Josh, I will see you soon. Subscribe for more. A good boy. I don't feel very well.
Rage Gaming with the video float.
But that's all that's really relevant at the mo. But I'm still gonna leave this up so you patrons know that I love you, even though the outro's no longer that kind of relevant. But the new one's being worked on, and it's gonna be a truly badass song.